Hello, greetings everyone. Welcome back to Connect Africa. I am Mahlet Ayele, your host at Connect Africa. Now, in a surprising or maybe rather unsurprising turn of event, the highlight of this week was Donald Trump having a meeting with 5 African nations in the White House. So he met with the Liberian, Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Mauritania, and Senegal's heads of states in the White Office. That was on Wednesday, that was 9th of July. Now, this meeting in this video, we are going to unpack rather different from what everyone has kind of reported on this meeting. So the highlight of the meeting was President Trump humiliating the Liberian president, asking him where did he learn his English, after complimenting him that he speaks beautiful English. But we say that as much as that humiliates the African nation or the Liberian president directly, we are going to unpack to you this actually humiliates President Trump. In fact, it makes him to test his own medicine with his idiotic question to the president of Liberia. So we are going to look at, first of all, what does this meeting with 5 African nations symbolizes, why these 5 African nations, and then the highlight of the event. We are going to analyze that. And of course, the question is, what is there with these 5 African nations, and what kind of foreign policy change led the United States to reach to this point, to have a deal with these 5 African nations, and of course, reflecting my own conclusion or my own opinion on this. So hopefully you stay tuned with us. Now, let's look at it one by one. First of all, we ask, it's always good to ask a question: what does this symbolize? This is, of course, potentially, it's like the US Africa summit. Well, you may ask that, how can 5 African nations represent the 54 African nations? So definitely you are right for questioning that. But the thing is, if you see the pattern of US Africa Summit, the first one was held in 2014, and at that time the plan was to make it every 4 years, and it didn't happen for the next perhaps 8 years, and then the next one happened in 2022 in Biden's time, and then the plan was to make it, the goal was to make it in every 3 years. So that makes it 22 now, plus more 3 years, 2025. That makes it exactly this year. So this was kind of symbolizing that US Africa Summit, just like China Africa Summit, Russia Africa Summit, Japan Africa Summit. Well, I mean, I have no complaint on that. Why not other African heads of states are not represented in this summit? Because if it was like that, then we will find all 54 African presidents or heads of states summoning themselves to the White Office with all their entourage. So what we have is playing or spending a lot of money from the continent with with the tax that what the people of Africa are paying. So in fact, Trump did good by having these 5 African nations. So the question is, why? Okay, so why these 5 African nations? So that is the second question we are going to look at. So behind all this, media conceptions that you see, forcing you to believe or to make it look like this is a mutual benefit, both on the United States and the African side. But this is an old trick game, because the truth is that United States, led by its current president, Donald Trump, what it wants is the minerals from these African countries. So Liberia, Senegal, Mauritania, Guinea-Bissau, and Gabon, they have all their own potential U.S. Their own natural resources that the United States is looking for. And of course, at large, what you have to look at is it's war, the economic war that's going on between U.S. and between the United States and China, and then the security-wise between the United States and Russia, because immediately when they have their own business extracting these minerals, then they will have their militaries into those places, safeguarding their own business. This is how all these foreign militaries are present in Africa, not really to fight terrorism or anything. Okay. Now, number three, that brings us to the highlight of this meeting, which is, as many have reported it, humiliating the Liberian president, namely Joseph Nyuma Boakai, telling him in his own words, meaning in Trump's words, this is what he said: "Wow, you speak such a beautiful English. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully?" And I'm not making this up, family. I mean, you can watch it for yourself. So let me just go ahead and play that clip for you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. And such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? Where were you educated? Where?
Yes, sir.
In Liberia.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's very interesting. It's beautiful English.
Sure.
That speaks volumes.
Well, now this definitely, you can see that this speaks volume. I mean, first of all, what Trump has to know is that Liberia is its national language is English, besides their own thing. Of course, Liberia's national language is English. And Liberia, we do a little bit of history teaching President Donald Trump here. Okay, just now, this is History 101 to the US president. You may not believe it, but I am doing this. Okay, number one, English is the national language of Liberia. Secondly, but also mainly, Liberia is an African state located in West Africa and created by the United States in 1822, meaning returning the slave descendants back to Africa. At least that is the cover used by the then United States, but this is by the Colonial Society of the United States. Okay, so the goal is actually to create a colony of the United States in West Africa. So you heard me, in 1822. Now I am debunking to you right now, for those of you or us who didn't, who believed that the United States wasn't part of that European colonial conference that it has in 1884, basically a scramble for Africa. US has started it much more before the European states. So 1822 was, Liberia was a state created by the United States, literally bringing these Black Africans, of course, originally taken from Africa, back to Africa, and then, creating its own colonial state. Okay. Now, another thing what you have to know is that the Liberia came to the U.S. in a high hope of restoring, a relation in terms of you all remember that currently the Trump administration has introduced that there will be a travel ban or visa restriction on 36 more countries in the world. And guess what? The name is in the world, but 29 of them are African countries. So let's say that that travel ban is against African countries. And Liberia is one of it. So I was reading a publicity that came out from the government of Liberia at that time, and it was almost begging to the United States, "Oh, we're gonna restore, this relation with the United States. We're gonna make it all good, this and that." So they were literally begging and crying around it. So they came in the hope of restoring that, but look at how Trump humiliated the Liberian president, but with that backfiring, Trump being humiliated by that question, because literally he didn't do, or his advisors did not do they did not do their due diligence, the research that was needs to be taken prior to this meeting, or just Trump acting, being Trump, doing what he likes. But in any case, we have to say that he gets the test of his own medicine with his idiotic question to the Liberian president, because he didn't do his research. I mean, not to mention that the capital of Liberia, its name is Monrovia, and Monrovia is named after the city of Monroe, which is found in America. Okay, and then look at Google and search. I mean, I'm sure I will wait until Trump sees the flag of Liberia, which is exactly the look-alike of the United States. Okay, now this will bring us unpacking number 4. The question is not now, if not for mutual benefits, then for what is this meeting? Okay, so now there is that is the answer is, of course, for minerals, and it's war with China, this economic war, and with security, also military presence with Russia. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you. Now, one may say that these African states, the one who are invited, are small African states in terms of size, population, or the number of, the total number of GDP, even out of the total GDP of Africa. It might seem nothing, but what lies behind their land or beneath their soil is the important minerals that the United States is looking for. Now, I'm going to tell you not everything, but the main one. For example, what does Liberia has? Liberia has natural resources like diamond, gold, and others. Senegal, phosphates, limestone, and titanium. Gabon, it's known for its gas. The military is also there, and the French business people are there. Also, it has its deposit of gold, iron ore, uranium, and diamonds. Look at Guinea-Bissau. Guinea-Bissau has bauxite, phosphate rock, gold, and diamonds again. Mauritania, it has iron ore, which is the most prominent one, and then other minerals include gold, copper, phosphate also, which is not and also on their way actually for the extraction of uranium for the first time from Mauritania. And in some of these countries, the US is already setting up its business there. Now, these African countries, you can say, US is also widening its presence in Africa compared to Europe and mainly France. You can say that US presence in terms of trade with Africa is very, very little. Now, that has been changed now after they signed that deal, the Lobito corridor with Zambia, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Angola, basically, which extracts the raw minerals from DRC and then through Zambia, also taking from Zambia and the lithium, and also shipping it from Angola to the United States or to the rest of the world. This is what they want. Now they are adding more countries like these 5 African countries. That is one. And the other thing is, what you look at is that China, as much as it is present in Africa, its presence in these 5 African nations is not that much. It's not that well established. Okay, it's definitely China is present in Zambia, DRC, and other African states extracting the minerals, but in these 5 African nations, it's literally in West Africa, it's not that much. So the United States is strategically strengthening that, where China is not so much present, and taking that minerals before China. That is one thing. Second, also, you see there is this foreign policy change towards to Africa. Now, the trade not aid banner or that slogan by African states was not really that much that has got the ear of the United States, because their policy, whether Democrats or Republicans, where that, it always has to do with the stability of African states, their political stability is a so-called democracy, and they so much meddle in the internal affairs of African countries. And because of that, these African countries in general prefer to sign a deal with China when it comes to trade, and also Russia when it comes to security, India, the Gulf states, or the United Arab Emirates, all this, the global south, as opposed to the Western powers, US and European countries. Okay, that is another thing. But now with Trump's administration, the senior advisor for Africa is Massad, by the name Massad Boulos, with the background of his from Lebanon, and a big businessman who has his family's business in various countries as well in Africa. And guess what? Trump, being Trump, he brings always his family to politics. And if you're wondering, who is Massad Boulos, he is actually the father-in-law of Tiffany Trump, who is the daughter of Trump, and recently they got a new baby. So this Massad Boulos and Trump have got their grandchild recently. So you can see who is behind there. So this man is the one also reportedly who helped Trump to break a deal with Rwanda, and between Rwanda and Democratic Republic of Congo, because he has a huge investment in Africa. Okay. Now, another point to the table, what you have to see is that all these 5 African countries, Senegal, Mauritania, Liberia, Guinea-Bissau, Gabon, they are all in West Africa. And the Sahel states is there in the middle of it, the alliance of the Sahel states, like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And as you all know, they have kicked out US military and the French military from their countries, and they have cut their ties. Now, by surrounding these countries, the US military has already is present not in this Sahel states, the Burkina Faso, Mali, or Niger, but also but around it, like Cote d'Ivoire, Benin. You have others, in many, like Ghana, Nigeria, and all these countries surrounding it. But then, even by becoming even around the belt of it, they are kind of locking up these Sahel states. So, the aim of this having these African states is not just random. You can see how far the United States is going. So they are aiming at also these countries. And repeatedly, recently we have heard the foreign minister of Mali, Abdoulaye Diop, repeatedly accusing the Western powers for sponsoring terrorism in the region. In fact, they threatened also to bring it to the ICC, but then we heard later on ICC also trying to bring the Sahel states to ICC. Anyway, that's another topic, and we have covered it, so you can check out our video there. Now, this brings us to our last point, which is, another thing what you can add why these 5 African countries having them at the White House is that it's because of migration. Now, it may seem too little, but migration is right now, it's a big issue. So it's another piece that you can add to this master class of modern day colonial theater that was just performed in front of the whole world between Trump versus the African presidents. So the United States is looking for to deport immigrants to a third party country, namely to Africa. So they want to find African countries, in a way, sign a deal and send this drop or deport these immigrants, okay, that they have a lot of from Mexico and other states as well. Now, all this will, brings us, so my own reflection, in really very shortly is like in 2 sentences is what you have to know. First of all, US is, Trump is doing just what he's best as doing. This is transactional agreement, transactional peace. It's not even a transactional agreement that brings or that's working for the benefit of or a mutual benefit. It is that it's a colonial agreement that benefits only the United States, mocking the African nations. And also Trump didn't change. It's the same Donald Trump that called the African countries in his first term presidency. If I have to use the word, I will apologize in advance. He called the African countries shitholes. So you can look it up, okay? So recently as well, the United States has denied visa for the Senegalese women basketball team who were about to travel a training camp in the United States. So let's be honest. This is not something for a real partnership that benefits both parties. As for me, it's just another empty promises, and I'm sure our heads of states gets this, because it's not for the first time what's being done is it's just abusive. What President Donald Trump is doing is abusive visa, travel ban, and bullying economy or economy bullying against African countries. So abusive visa restrictions and trade deals. Well, that was it, as far as this meeting between the United States and African countries, 5 African countries is concerned. For me, I think Donald Trump has humiliated himself. He has tested his own medicine called humiliation. He humiliates everyone, but this time he has humiliated himself as he didn't do good research about Liberia. That was it for now. Thank you again. And if you find this video informative, please subscribe, like, and share the video. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one. And salam to you all. I'm Sagnalo, and bye-bye.